By the Heat Ratio Sports Network. This show brings the temperature of sports to a whole new level. Whether it's a local opinion or a national agenda, everything is fair game. Remember, everyone has an opinion, but only few can back it up. Now sit back, crank up the volume, and if you think you can handle it, get ready for the Heat.
Welcome everybody to the Heat Ratio Sports episode 144. Man, I'm your host Tony Cotillo, joined by Coach Dave Dixon in Pittsburgh, John Coker. No Mikey Gooks tonight. He is on sabbatical. He will be back joining us next week. I think he kind of probably threw his head up against the wall too many times during that game, so he's maxed out. Energy's maxed out by Mikey Gooks this week, but that's okay. But listen, we're going to talk all kinds of things tonight, and we're going to do something a little different. And here's the thing, man. You know, if you want to join in, get your comments up. We read them as much as possible. But tonight, if you're a heavy commenter, you got a lot to say. Here's what I want to do. Let me know. I will give you the link, and you will get your 5 minutes of fame on this show. You can talk live with all four of us, and then we'll give everybody an opportunity because tonight is it's like you're in confession, man. It's like all the sins that the Philadelphia Eagles made throughout the years. It's like now we get to throughout this year we get to talk about it. And I want to say this before we go on. Heat Ratio Sports, follow us, get to know us. I am extremely excited to announce that we are going to have 7-day programming on this network. And I am 1 day short right now. We are going to get that seventh guy. But listen, we are going to talk everything. I don't know if Sato's going to join us tonight, but we are going to be talking cornhole. Okay, cornhole, not on this podcast, but once a week talking about cornhole, right? Having cornhole with Jamar Dean is going to be covering collegiate sports, NCAA football, baseball, softball, basketball, you name it. We have a hockey show. We're getting a golf show ready. Okay, we got basketball with me, Al, and Andre. Obviously, the Heat Ratio podcast and the Fantasy Firebox. We are all ready. We're all ready and lined up. 2021 is going to be the Heat Ratio year. And let me just say one thing. Last week, we had a huge response to a very unmeditated, or I should say unpremeditated, segment of Burger King, of the drive-through diaries is what I kind of call it, because that was what was on my mind. Okay, I mean, literally. And tonight, I have to say, this is just something that comes natural. And I was infuriated yesterday, and it's still been on my mind tonight. So I'm gonna talk about it. And tonight's gonna be a little bit of a Staples rant. Okay, the good old department store that just continually pisses me off and shows you why I shop online for everything. Okay. Number one, half the people that work there, if you hate your job, quit. Why are you working there then? Like, listen, you could go work. Staples is Walmart or Target. Doesn't matter. Everybody's so damn miserable. If you're that miserable, don't work. Don't work there. Go to the next place. Like, seriously, go next door to Five Below. Like, nobody's ever happy anymore. Whatever happened to the greeters? Hey, how you doing, sir? Now, nobody, it's like you're bothering them if you ask them. And one of the other, I wanted to buy a hard drive and a gaming chair for my son. Now, here's the thing. The hard drive, they put them in these gigantic, funky plastic boxes, right? Remember when we used to grow up, we used to go to Toys R Us and get our video games, and you used to grab the ticket and go up to the window and they would get, what's wrong with the ticket? I got to walk up with this freaking tremendous box that's falling apart just so somebody can go in the back and take another 15 minutes to get me this little box. It's like somebody rigged up a Christmas present. They got a ring and put it in a giant box. They had to keep on wrapping it to get it. But my biggest thing is, I go to get a gaming chair. The gaming chair is $229. it's on sale for $159. So my son's like, Dad, got some Christmas money, want to get the gaming chair. Sure, no problem. So I noticed laying on a chair is another tag that says $149.99. So I said to my son, oh, this one must be $150. I mean, the tag's on there. So I go up to the register. Of course, it rings up $159.99. So I say to the girl, I said, listen, the tag on there said $149.99. And she goes, oh, so is that what you want it for? No, I want to pay $160. Of course that's what I want. Give me $10 off. Like, what kind of question is that? I'm looking at her, and she's like, oh, so you do want the $10 off. Well, if it says it, yeah. I mean, shit, because I can do it. Okay, well, then what the hell are you asking me for?
I wanted it for $100.
Right, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, why are you even asking me, right? Just, number one, the chair weighs 240 pounds, okay? My son's a string bean, can't lift up a glass of soda, love him to death. Here's me, okay? I'm sitting there lugging this thing all over the store, and then the least you could do is give me $10, man. At least you could do is give me $10. But,
yeah, to go to Burger King.
Yeah, exactly. And go to Burger King. Like, come on. Who's not going to want the money? And then on top of that, my son calls me a Karen when we get out to the car. It's like, Dad, why'd you have to be a Karen in there? I'm like, stop. Dude, come on, man. I'm here for you. Oh, it's crazy, man. Crazy. But listen, Dave, I promise, I wanted you to lead this off because again, my mind is fried. Everybody checking in. Jamar, Bill, Tars, what's up, buddy? Scotty, Sato, everybody. Rick, my man, says Tony angry already. Go shopping. But listen, I just want Dave to start this off because I was up last night. I was up Sunday night. I went crazy. I did a Jigsaw's Judgment. I couldn't sleep. I went for an hour. And then last night I was with my man Phil and Scotty, and I got pumped up again. And then I had to listen to the radio today a little bit, and I shouldn't have done it because it pissed me off even more. Dave, please explain to me, okay, number one, I know you're happy you were doing a dance about Jim Schwartz, which I know you're going to get into, and we'll get into that later. But I want your stand, because I haven't talked to you or John, since this has happened. And I'm curious to see what you guys have thought about what happened and the way it went down. We'll get to the season later, but let's just look at that game against the Washington football team. We don't have to talk about what happened. We know what happened. Dave, you let me know what your feelings were going into that game and how you felt afterwards.
Going into that game, I mean, first of all, I'm very thankful that the season is over. And I'm also very thankful that we got the 6th pick in the draft. I mean, if you're going to pull a positive out, that's got to be it for us. Going into that game, up to that game, I'm like, okay, Jalen Hurts goes against one of the top defenses that he'll see in his short stint, right? You got Rivera, obviously the head coach, and Jack Del Rio. And I was hopeful to see Mailata play against Chase Young. That honestly, you know how I feel about the trench work, and I was very excited to see that. So I was disappointed what happened in the Dallas game, which I thought was a cheap shot against Mailata. And anyway, so I was anxious to see a couple different things, and I wanted to see Jalen Hurts against this particular defense because I thought it was the second best that he saw other than New Orleans, right? So I was excited to see that. At the end of the game, and then reading the things I read about throwing the game, let me rewind for a second. Going up and at the time of the game when you saw all the people that weren't dressing, and Carson not dressing, and a couple other key players not playing, and I'm like, okay, they're throwing the game, right? They're not interested in winning. They're not interested in getting people hurt, which I thought was very interesting because if you're a Carson guy or not, they did right by Carson, in my opinion, by not dressing him, because if he was labeled as the backup and something happened to Jalen and then Carson went in and broke his leg, whatever, his career definitely would have been over or close to it. Anyway, after the game, they lose the game. They throw the game. And if you don't think they did, then, I don't know what's wrong with you. But I really don't care. Personally, I know you're hearing and you're reading a lot of things about integrity of the game and this and that. And I understand all that. But being the person that I am and knowing a little bit about Eagle history, and I'm not saying the sixth pick in the NFL draft could be the next O.J. Simpson, but at one point, the Eagles lost O.J. Simpson because they won the last game. The next season, they could have had O.J. Simpson. So, and I know that's for our younger people that listen, they're like, who gives a shit about who's O.J. Simpson? But anyway, I don't care that Sudfeld got in the game. I don't care. I see both sides of it. Like the players were pissed, and I feel bad for them that they were pissed. But honestly, you don't need to win that game. Why would you win that game as an organization? I just don't believe that you needed to do that. And I'm not upset about them doing what they did whatsoever. Jalen Hurts wasn't doing anything exciting anyway. He could have, scored the go-ahead touchdown, right? He threw it in the dirt. It looked like, one of Donovan's killing innocent earthworms throws. So I'm glad it's over. It was like the epitome of the season. You were scratching your head. Wasn't everybody scratching their head when you put Nate Sudfeld in?
Of course.
Do you think that was Doug Pederson, like all of a sudden an epiphany? I'm going to put Nate Sudfeld in. Like I knew he dressed with the possibility of playing, and I thought, like, you know what, they might try to get him in if circumstances or whatever. Maybe they play Jalen one half and get the other kid Nate in there to play another half because he's a free agent to get some looks. I don't know, but I don't think Doug would have done that unless it was the higher up saying do it.
See, here's my thing, man. Here's my thing. Taller saying, Coach Dave, I didn't care either. I agree. Josh Malone, first time, long time. What's up, guys? What's up, Josh? Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate it. Hopefully you stick with us. But let me just say something, Dave. Here's my issue, and then we'll get right to John because I want to go back at both of you. I was highly pissed off. Did I expect them to win? No, I didn't. I thought about it earlier today, and I was like, the strings thing is they probably will win because that's typically what happens when we want them to lose, they'll win, right? And if Jalen Hurts makes a good throw to Quez Watkins in the end zone, we're up 21-20. So, that possibility still exists, right? My whole thing is the way this happened. If Doug, here's the thing. If Doug thought he was going to play Nate Sudfeld. And I'll tell you what, man. Doug is such a phony. I can't stand Doug Pederson. He literally, okay, so first of all, who watched the press conference? Please somebody tell me, okay? For Howie Roseman and Doug Pederson look like two boneheads that look like they shouldn't even have been there, okay? Like seriously, this is what we got to watch, right? Like this is Doug and Howie. This is what they look. Doug looks like, and the funny thing is, why were they even splitting the screen? Because everybody was asking Howie Roseman the questions. Nobody was even asking Doug because they knew what kind of dumb response he was going to give. And then he sits up there and he proceeds to tell us that he was trying to win the game. He was trying to win. Okay, listen, if you were going to do whatever you did, that's fine. But don't make us all look like idiots. We are the most educated and passionate fan base in the NFL. And for you to sit up there at that podium and tell me that you want to give Nate a look. Nate stinks. He's a third-string quarterback for a reason. He stinks. What do we need to see from Nate? Nate stinks. You weren't trying to win the game. Okay, and if you want to play Nate, Dave, that's fine. And I hear, please, everybody, and I know they don't listen, that's fine. But I know everybody else listens to them. Okay, and I'm not going to attack anybody personally, but please, if you're on the radio, you have a podcast, don't tell me how I'm supposed to feel. Okay, because I resent every minute of that. Don't tell me you think you know how I feel. Okay, because you don't. Because I don't care if Tim McManus came out and said that Nate Sudfeld was going to dress. They said that they want to get him in the game. That's great. But how come nobody else was talking about that? How come national pundits were pissed off when this happened? How come local journalists were pissed off when this happened? How come players came out and were visibly upset that this happened. So if this was really premeditated, how come everybody else seemed to be in the dark? I guess Tim McManus is on the field then. I don't know. Good for him. And you know what? And he's highly credentialed. And guess what? If he was told that, that's fine. But it still doesn't make any sense the way it happened. Okay? And I honestly, I completely agree with Joe Judge. And I know everybody's burying Joe Judge. But listen. If you want to do, everybody keeps bringing up Cleveland, and this is going to go right to John. Everybody keeps saying, well, Cleveland, when Cleveland played Pittsburgh, nobody said nothing about them about starting Mason Rudolph. They started Mason Rudolph. They were forthright about it from day one, exactly what they were going to do. They didn't take their guy out of a three-point game, a guy, let me tell you, that they were trying to establish, a guy in Jalen Hurts that played 3 friggin' football games. It's not a guy that you wanted to get more looks out of Jalen Hurts. You wanted him out there. You were giving him confidence. And if he wins that game, maybe he does get some confidence. So my whole thing is that the way this situation, I understand. I'm not mad that they lost. Please understand that. I'm not mad that they lost. What I'm mad about is the way it was handled and the way this situation was perceived. That's the problem. It could have been handled completely differently. And yes, if it was, I don't think we'd be talking about it. John, what do you think?
Well, I mean, let's rewind before the game. When Schwartz comes out and says,
yes,
they ain't getting their hats on our field. That's his MO going into this. This is
that's
your
a great
speech.
Point. Thank you, John.
This is your speech. This is what you're telling your team in the week leading up to this game. This is our objective. I understand Doug Pederson might want to have Sudfeld. Why you need more looks at this dude after 4 years in the league and having Wentz and Hurts. I don't know what you're going to get out of playing him against Washington's defense. All right. So that was just a dumb decision. He did it. He probably shouldn't have in the competitive game. He did it. It was a dumb decision. And truthfully, I think in that moment, because if they were down 10 points, we're not even talking about this. Or, you know what I mean? Or if they were down 13 points, we're not talking about this. So I think that's what he thought going in potentially. But then when it ends up, he just kind of still stuck with that plan and really didn't think of the repercussions because I think he's just, I don't know. Oh, yes, you said it, not me.
He's a dope.
Yeah. But look, it was a dumb decision. I mean, he coached with the plan. See, the thing is, look, I've had a plan of how I coach kids. And if a kid played a position all year that he didn't want to play and I put him up there, look, these are not paid professionals, all right? And I wouldn't do it in a championship game anyway. But at some point, you got to bite the bullet if you want to give the guy playing time. You know, when's a good time? It's never a good time. Every game, in soccer is competitive. So there's never really a good time. So sometimes you got to just bite the bullet, But these are paid professionals. It's completely different. Like Sudfeld's making his money whether he shows up in that game or not. It's not even a comparison. But
you're right.
Look, in the end, it was an inadvertent cheap shot by Doug Pederson. It was a cheap shot to the NFL. I don't think he meant to do it purposely, but he purposely threw that game. And I'm not saying, not that was what he was going out to do. Look, he had, a 10% reason why to put Sudfeld in with the game Hurts was having. It wasn't like it was outlandish, like Hurts was lighting the world on fire, okay? So it wasn't that outlandish. But, dude, after that speech and Schwartz, you got to give it your all. This is you know what I mean? It means something. Take some pride, and that's what he didn't do. It's a shame, but hey, that's 6th pick overall. You never know. Is that going to be the top receiver in the or top 2 receiver in the class? I mean, think about what that could be versus 9. I mean, the way the Eagles draft, not good, but
no, that's true. Listen, I don't like how it went down. I don't, and it makes Doug look like the bumbling idiot that everybody thinks he is. But I just can't help thinking, like, if I'm a coach and I'm game planning and I know that I'm getting my backup quarterback in a meaningless game, he's going to start the 3rd quarter.
Thank you.
I'm going to give this guy the starter first 2 quarters. I see Jalen. I see you for 3.5 games. All right. You know what? I'm going to get Sudfeld some video, put him out there as a free agent. I'm going to do him a solid, and I'm going to start him the second half. And as a football coach, I cannot believe that Doug didn't think that. What I do think is Doug was trying to win the game, and I think he was reminded that, hey, you know what? You got to throw the game, dude. Take Ertz out of the game. Take Jalen out and put the other kid in.
That's stiff.
Yeah,
put the stiff in.
Yeah, to guarantee the loss.
He's like, put the human victory cigar in. That's what you're doing.
You know what I'm just thinking about right now? It just how outlandish would this be if they just said, you know what, screw it, we're starting Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well,
straight up, you want to see what somebody got. Yeah. Who do you want to see what they have?
I honestly said that, on
the Eagles.
I said that they should have played Wentz.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. You don't know what kind of quarterback you have in him. Dude, maybe he goes out there and beats the Redskins, and now think about the draft capital you could potentially get if you still want to get rid of him.
Yeah.
If he does nothing, if he just tanks, who cares? You're in the same spot as you were. But what do you need to see out of Sudfeld that you don't need to see out of Wentz?
And that's my problem. I agree. What did you need to do out of Sudfeld? What did you need to see out of Sudfeld? Josh checking in says, another receiver. I thought Rager was the answer. Yeah, Josh, let me tell you something, man. That was not a good pick. I don't care what anybody says.
The guy you could have had broke the rookie receiving record. Are you shitting me? Are you absolutely kidding me?
Now, let me, you know what? You're right. Now, let me answer this, Dave, because this was a good point. So, and it'll be up tomorrow, but, very, very intelligent person. I interviewed Alexa Ross today from, she's from WROC News 8 in Buffalo. She covers the Buffalo Bills, and she's a Philly girl, so, Philly native, and she's got a lot of Philly, heritage behind her. And I asked her that. And we were talking about that. She made a good point. She was like, the funny thing is, she's like, we're not wrong. But the funny thing is, she's like, do you think that if Justin Jefferson was selected by the Philadelphia Eagles, that he would have broke those rookie records this year? No. Right? No. Absolutely not. But again, what does is plays into to the theory that we all know of how dysfunctional this whole team is, right? I mean, that's a problem.
But here's the thing to that, Tony. Let me interject.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
He's still the better pick. He's the better receiver.
I
agree.
So
he wouldn't have had 70 receptions if he had 35. You would have been happy with 35 from a rookie receiver, right?
I'm with you. I am.
And we all would have been able to see potential that you just can't. And Rager might have it. I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm tired. How does Howie Roseman have a job still? There's 32 teams in the NFL, and this guy continually makes mistakes year after year, and he gets a free pass. How is that possible? How aren't the Philly fans or every radio station or every Eagles representative blowing this guy out of the water for the fraud that he is? And he's killed our team for the last 3 years. It's a big problem. And the whole city and all the fans need to realize that he's the reason. Him and Jeffrey are together. Jeffrey's not going anywhere. You got to get rid of Howie. You got to bring a personnel person in here that's going to nail the draft for the next 2 years in order for us to have a chance. I don't care who the quarterback is.
I agree. And to Howie, if you listen to his press conference, Howie says he's really happy with the teams he had. And
I would like to rip his neck right off his head. I would love to stretch him in half.
It's great. I'm still trying to figure out the hit. He said they've had a lot of hits. Who were the hits again?
Oh my God!
Like who were the hits? Howie?
I'm going to stretch his head right off his shoulders. This piece of junk that's running our program.
It's absolute. I mean, think about it, man. It's ridiculous. It is.
Here's a question to you guys, though. Just talking this year, plain and simple. You swap Rager and Jefferson, who has a better year?
If you put Rager in Minnesota?
Yep.
I still think it would be Jefferson.
Yeah, he's a better player.
No way.
Why do you say that, John?
Because the pass game for Philadelphia was just atrocious this year. And I'm sorry, the quarterback play in no way, shape, or form could even allow a receiver to do what he needs to do. Look, I'm not saying Cousins is by any means a great quarterback, but the passing game in Minnesota was better than the passing game, or the offense just in general was better. And Rager would have been able to get open and catch more ball. I'm just saying statistically, Rager would have put up.
Seen the field, John, at Minnesota.
Well, not just that, right? Rager would have to run the right routes. It's a guy that looks lost on the field. Looked like he didn't even know he belonged on a football field. He didn't even know what route to run, what position to be at.
Did the quarterback
Is that going to change?
But did the quarterback know where the hell he was throwing it with the way Wentz was playing?
No,
come on.
But here's the problem. If the receiver doesn't run in the right direction, it really doesn't matter.
I get what you're saying, John, and no one. I mean, it's a nice argument, but and a discussion.
I'm not saying
I'm
not saying that Rager's a better receiver by any way, shape, or form.
No, I know that.
I'm just saying strictly this year, yes, I think Rager would have been able to fill the hole that Jefferson did, maybe put up 60% of his stats, but the Eagles' passing game was so poor, I can't see Jefferson really putting up stats,
all right,
to compare.
So let's play your game for a second, John. Does Rager go to Minnesota and set the rookie receiving record?
No.
Right. So
no.
That adds to my points, though. Yeah, the kid's just a better receiver, and our our talent evaluation process.
Yes.
I mean, dude, I wouldn't want Howie Roseman and his evaluation team to pick my high school players.
100%. No, I'm not disagreeing with you on any of that. I was just even referencing, the Rager aspect of it. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jefferson broke the record, but he wouldn't have did it in the Eagles uniform this year.
I don't disagree with that.
And even though he is I do believe that he is going to be the best receiver. Well, him or Metcalf will be the best receivers out of that class. And I think they will be
before.
Right. Oh,
CD Lamb, and
I think Jefferson's going to be the one.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with that.
And that's a shame because that's another miss. And again, Josh bringing up makes a great point. Watch the video today, the Vikings live reaction to when they pick Rager. They laughed at me. I hate that video because that just shows how much of a chump we have as a GM. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're so dysfunctional right now. I think this the reason why this sours everybody. And I get. Listen, my man Tar's checking in. I get it. He feels it's being blown way out of proportion. The Giants coach, you chumps should have kept winning when you're always 5-7 in division and in third place. Nobody told you to lose 3 games. And Tar's, I agree. Okay, I do. I understand that. And listen, I got no love for the Giants, but what I do have is I say this, and Dave, I do think you'll agree with me. And even if you don't, it's okay because that's what we do. We agree to disagree. But there is a brotherhood within the NFL amongst NFL football players. It's not as strong between the coaches, but it's really strong with the players. Okay, they all love they love each other in the sense of they're playing a game that they love. They're playing a sport that they love. Okay, and they stick together through the most part all the time. And even when they're fighting on the field, it's because of their emotions get the best of them. That is a strong brotherhood, I would say, and we talked about this on the show before. The strongest brotherhood in all of sports. So when you do that, that's why the players were visibly pissed off, because even though we knew we didn't want to win that game, for them to go out and purposely tank the game, it sends the wrong message to cohorts, right?
Yeah.
It sends a wrong message to their counterparts. And here's the other thing I want to say. And I said this again in nauseum, but I feel very strongly about it. The domino effect from this move is what nobody else is looking at. Again, if you would have came out from day one and said what you were doing, it's different. You made it look, even if you indirectly, like John said, even if it was indirect, it doesn't matter. You made the bed, now you got to lie in it, okay? And what Doug did, he made an idiotic move by making that play for the quarterback in the fourth quarter when the game was very much in hand. And going ahead, the dominoes will be, what about the players that may want to come to Philadelphia now? What about the coaches that may look at Philadelphia now and say, you know what? I don't know if I want to be a part of that. Okay, this guy's a buffoon, has no idea what's going on, or all the decisions are coming from up top and are basically getting droned into Doug on the sideline, right? What about guys like Jason Kelce, who, again, a guy who was going to retire this year, played with one arm, and now you basically just slapped him in the face. You know he's not coming back. I mean, that image of him, Ertz, and Wentz on the sideline after the game shows you all you need to know. Those three guys, what they were reminiscing, and they knew it was the last time they would be in that link together. Okay, so they're the dominoes effect that people aren't talking about. This is way more than Joe Judge and way more than the New York Giants. I mean, listen, national guys out there now all of a sudden they all want to make it. I see Dick Vitale even coming out taking a shot. Like, come on, Dickie V, stick to the NCAA, man. Seriously, like this is like the hot story. And I do also, last thing I'll say is I don't believe it's because the game was flexed. I see a lot of people out there saying, oh, if it wasn't Sunday night, we wouldn't be talking about it. Yes, we would. We, again, are the most educated and passionate fan base in America. We know what's going on. The same people that were pissed were the same people that would have been pissed if it was Sunday at 1 o'clock. It doesn't matter. Listen, you can have your opinions about it. We'll all agree to disagree. But all I know is whatever way you want to think, it was handled wrong, and it just basically, it took the entire season and put it in a nutshell and just closed it out. The only thing that sucks is we were already going to have a horrible offseason, okay? Going back and forth about Carson and Jalen and, and Doug and Howie. Now we have this to go along with the entire offseason as well.
Tony, you're nail on the head, man. It's something that you guys know I've been saying the same thing. The dysfunction from up top has caused a ton of problems. And what you just said was perfect because it's going to affect free agents. It's going to affect coaches wanting to come here. Why would I want to work for Doug Pederson, even if there's a remote chance that Doug knows how to coach a football game? Why would I want to coach or play for him if he's not the guy that's making the calls? And I mean the calls from top to bottom. Who's playing, who's not playing, what scheme we're doing, how we're practicing, what free agents we're targeting, what other coaches are we bringing in here, what coaches are we getting rid of. Doug looks like a puppet. He looks like a puppet. And what you just said nailed it on the head. The dysfunction of how they decided to play the last game of the season was the icing on the cake of the dysfunction from the whole organization. And I feel bad for the players that are still here and a part of it. The only way that you could possibly salvage a year or two from now is either you get rid of Doug and you bring a guy in here that you allow him to have complete reign, or you come out and you say, you know what, Doug, you pick your defensive coordinator, you start picking your offensive coordinators, and you have more of a hand in the draft scenario. And then you see whether or not Doug Pederson is actually a solid football guy or not. Do you think that that's even a chance of remotely happening in this organization? I don't.
No, not at all. And that's why, full speed ahead that, I don't want to spend the entire show on this because I'll be honest with you that I really am. I'm so disgusted with it either way. And I'm so pissed about this year. And because we weren't really sold on this being a 4-11 year, man. Like, it's not what we thought was going to happen, and a lot of things, if you think about it, 4 out of those wins, 3 of them were against really bad situations. Essentially, a backup quarterback. We essentially could have been 1-15 if you think about it, which is, it dictates exactly what happened for this entire season. But, for Howie Roseman to go up in a press conference and say he was happy about his roster in 18 and 19 and 2020, it just shows, how much dysfunction is, because he's completely disconnected from talent evaluation, and that's not good. Now, one thing, Dave. Go ahead, John. What you look like you're ready to say something?
Oh yeah, no. I was
up,
just going to say. I mean, in reality, we've seen the players go against Doug. I mean, look, we've seen Doug in the past where he basically in a press conference says, "Yeah, I'm not firing my coaches," and then fires his coaches.
Yes.
All right. So, Dave was talking about where the decisions come from. Okay, well, he felt his job was safe. If he just lost his star players and confidence, is his job really safe now? It's not like, where it came out. It's everybody's questioning up through week 16. Then all of a sudden there's a revelation. No, his job's safe. He's not on the hot seat anymore. Well, after this shenanigans, who knows how they switch, their minds on the coaches and the firing and who stays. But, that's who knows.
We didn't even bring up Schwartzy yet, Tony.
Well, that's right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, we're 35 minutes in, and we've gone through Staples, and we've gone through the Eagles' abomination of a football game against a Washington football team, who, again, I will pat myself on the back, who I said was going to win the division when everybody said it was going to be everybody else. I did say it was going to be Washington, because, again, coaching. I love Rivera. I love Del Rio, and I'll tell you what, guys, if you look at this NFC East, even the Giants, you win within the trenches. We've talked about that before. Your offensive and defensive line, and the defensive line on the Giants and the Redskins. I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be a problem. And one thing I will say, and I said this last night on Scotty Talks Philly Sports with Scotty and Phil, is I looked at 4 guys who everybody said, and I think we were all, I don't know if we were all in agreement on this show, but I know I agreed that I would have gave up a draft pick for any one of these 4 guys, and everybody said I was nuts. Okay, we talk about Minka Fitzpatrick, Jamal Adams, right? Leonard Williams. Okay, there's 3 guys. Who's the 4th guy? The other guy that's balling out on defense. I'll think of his name in a minute. But out of those guys, guys that Jalen Ramsey. Okay, say what you want about Jalen. Nobody wanted to give up. These are guys under the age of 26. Guys that are under the age of 26 that you could have got on this team, on this defense that is deteriorated. Okay, that has no talent. This defense is screwed. Okay, Darius Slay and everybody else. Brandon Graham shot out. I agree. I like BG, but the talent. Fletch, I know Fletch is good, but Fletch hasn't played out the potential, and we'll get into that a little later. So, they were 4 guys that were there for you to get, and nobody wanted to give up draft capital that we don't even know how to use anyway. Right? Here's the thing. Oh, I don't want to. That's too high. I don't want to give up a second round or a first round. Why? Our picks suck anyway. So at least now it's idiot proof. It's like right. It's trade for dummies.
You got Minka Fitzpatrick for Jalen Reagor.
There you go.
Because Steelers gave up. They didn't have a first round pick. That's basically what it was.
I'll give you another one.
You don't get Reagor, but you get Minka.
Stephon Diggs for Jalen Reagor. We even mentioned him on offense. First round pick. Right? Stephon Diggs. Number 1 receiver in NFL, 127 catches. And John, I nailed that one too. But
yes, you did.
But
you nailed the Buffalo connection. There is no doubt.
I got lucky, man. Listen, I had a hunch. We all step in elephant shit every now and then, right?
You do it all the time, dude. All the time. Tony, I can't agree with you more. I am absolutely for giving up draft capital for a known commodity. You already know these players can play. I was with you when we should have taken Amari Cooper, in my opinion. Minka, I wanted, right?
Yep.
And there is something to be said about getting players that you already know their value for an unknown.
Exactly.
I just totally believe that that's the right thing to do. And especially you should be in the market of doing that when you suck at drafting, Howie. You suck at it.
Like just tell him, like, Howie, you couldn't pick a good pick anyway. So at least now the pick is, I'm telling you, it's like the draft trade book for dummies. You can't go wrong because you already got a guy that's established. And any one of those guys would have been a foundation on defense for this team for years to come. Did you see the numbers? Dude, guess how many catches DeAndre Hopkins had last week against Jalen Ramsey? Zero. One of the best receivers in the league. Leonard Williams was all over the field for the Giants. Okay, Jamal Adams, when healthy, was a difference maker for the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, these guys were right there. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Josh checking in says, I hope this Washington team runs the division for years. Think they have the best chance as of right now. Cowboys need to get their head straight, but man, Washington looks good going in the future. Absolutely. I'm getting to the comments right now. I see Tar says Washington doesn't have a quarterback. And it's the one thing they don't have. I agree. But one thing I could say is with that defense and that defensive line, that's all you need to know. That defense.
They're going to get Sam Darnold.
You think so? Could be.
That's my hot take.
Oh, Sam Darnold going to Washington. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Is Sam Darnold Sam Bradford? Right?
No.
Who knows?
We don't know. Can play. Sam Darnold can play. He's been with a shit organization and a dumbass head coach. Sam Darnold, if you watched him a little bit in college, you know that the kid has NFL potential, and he definitely does. I mean, there's a reason why he was drafted where he was. He's been with a shit organization and an awful coach. That would be a nice – you have a building block there with a young player and a team that can play defense. That's exactly what you want.
No, you're right. Al says, okay, I'm back. What did I miss? Al, you did. Listen, we're still on the same topic, 41 minutes in, bro. We're good. We're still talking Eagles. Tar says, definitely would have given up a pick for any of those guys. Jigsaw, I agree. I mean, we're all in agreement. It would have been much better. Steve, what's up, Steve? Checking in the whole roster. It's awful. It really is. It's crazy. You think about it. Tars also says, I hate that we don't value the linebacker position. Fire Howie now. I love that. We're going to leave that up there for a minute because that's exactly what it is. The problem is we don't value that position. Right? We don't value that position. And that's a major problem on this team. And I don't understand that when you look and you see the weaknesses, if we all can see it, don't give me TJ Edwards. Stop it. Like, give me a legitimate linebacker, right? Listen, the guy right up in the right far hand corner right there, Mr. Steele or Mr. Pittsburgh John, he knows all about linebackers in Pittsburgh. That's all they do is they breed linebackers out there, and they're very important to their system. Now, all I can say is hopefully this is going to segue into the Jim Sports conversation, is maybe we bring in a defensive coordinator who values the linebacker position a little more than anybody we've had in the past, and maybe they actually listen to him and get him the talent that he needs, because right now, this linebacking core, I mean, are you kidding me? Alex Singleton? The dude's got a ton of heart. Okay,
yeah,
but right? He does a ton of heart, but he's Rudy. Okay, yeah. He is. He's Rudy Rudiger. That's who he is. I mean, he's gonna play his ass off, but he can't help it that he's small and undersized. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Nothing you do. He can't be our starting linebacker. Come on, man. I mean, who knew Jordan Hicks was going to stay healthy and be a monster in Arizona, right? I mean, we were all like, we liked him, but it was like, yeah, you know what? Guess what? He can't stay healthy. Problem is, he looks like a stud out there in Arizona. A guy we actually drafted who actually played well, who we let go. And the last thing I'll say, before I go to John about this linebacker issue and Jim Schwartz and going forward, we'll get to some comments and see if anybody wants to get in for a couple minutes on the show. But what I will say is, if you look at 2017, that year, we mentioned that on the show that I think people forget how critical of a role that Nigel Bradham played on that defense. And Nigel Bradham, again, he wasn't that guy who was your lockdown starter for 7 years, but he understood the system. He was a very, very smart player. He was physical, and he was the quarterback on the field. And we don't have that. When we let him go, we let him and Malcolm go, and I always said this, go up the middle. Give me a defensive tackle, a middle linebacker, and a safety, and put them in line. So you went from Fletcher Cox, Nigel Bradham, and Malcolm Jenkins to nothing. That's what you went to. You still had Fletch, okay, and you had Malik, and Hargrave, who played okay this year, but at least you had very serviceable guys there. Nobody behind them, and that's a problem. That's a problem. John, talk to me, man.
No, I mean the Eagles and Steelers defense. It's just a different MO. The Steelers use their linebackers to get pressure on the quarterback. Where a lot more of the Eagles, it's on the line. And I mean, you're splitting hairs just because of the 3-4 alignments and just the way they shift guys. I mean, really, TJ Watt's basically a defensive end. All right, but they're going to call him a linebacker. Same thing with Bud Dupree. So, I mean, call it what you want. I mean, you still got to have guys that are getting pressure. Middle linebackers are hard to find. To find an all-pro middle linebacker, which we felt, we Steelers felt like we had too, with Shazier. That was like, ooh. I mean, we were setting that. I mean, think about how far that sets you back. I mean, having that guy. And then we move up and draft the heir apparent who, tears his ACL. Who knows if Devin Bush is going to be as good as Shazier was, but, I mean, he was a solid piece. So, I mean, but that's their, they didn't really have a lot of great middle linebackers. It was always the guys off the edge, the Greg Lloyds, the Levon Kirk, Jason Gilden. You had who went to James Harrison, you know what I mean?
Greg Lloyd,
yep. So all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you had a ton of people that were, a ton of linebackers.
So I'm going to get
but a little bit. Name a defensive lineman.
For who? The Steelers?
Steelers over
Casey Hampton.
but you see my point. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Exactly. Go ahead, Dave. What's up, buddy?
Well, so the guy that runs the Steelers defense right now is a guy by name Keith Butler, who was the understudy to Dick LeBeau for years. So part of the reason why they're able to plug and play a little easier than other organizations is because they have been extremely steady and stable. And they do draft well, and they draft for need. But the Steelers – Keith Butler moved right in under LeBeau, but he was there for many years, and they're running the same scheme, and that's why that they're able to be successful. I mean, a large part of it. We don't have that stability. We don't. Go. Let's play a little bit more into that. They draft Devin Bush because they value that position, the middle linebacker, in that defense that he's going to put into the same system that they've been running for, 20 years, 15 years at least. And that's how you run an organization, stability. And they let their coaches coach. It's such the opposite of what our organization is doing right now, and it's horrible to see from my perspective what we're faced as fans, because it's nothing is positive, nothing in my opinion. I hate, and I'm not a negative doom and gloom guy by nature whatsoever, but what I'm telling you is you look around the league and you see certain things happening, and you see the Eagles staying stagnant. And it's like, it's a joke, man. No. You're just stealing money from the fans. You want to talk about Fletcher stealing money. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going into the pockets of the Philadelphia Eagles fan base and just raping us of our money.
And it's not feeling good either.
No, it's never good.
Yeah. Steve checking. Steve's got a good point here. This is why I love the comments. I love it. The problem with trading your picks for established players, they want big money. Once we paid Wentz, it made it hard to go that route anymore. In the NFL, once you pay the quarterback, you have to hit on your picks to build a young roster around him. I completely agree. The issue to me is for us is this is a dual-edged sword because we paid the wrong guys. Okay, maybe we didn't have to give a 3-year deal to Deshaun Jackson, who we knew wasn't going to live up to that money. We could have easily been able, like when we traded for Darius Slay, we gave him, we took on that contract, right? I think we gave him a new deal as well. Okay, so we were able to do that because we let guys like Malcolm Jenkins go. We had a ton of young talent on this team. If you think about it, a ton of young talent. The problem is, you're right, the Carson Wentz deal, the Fletcher Cox deal, the Alshon Jeffrey deal, right? Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, these guys, Javon Hargrave, these guys all got paid. So, Steve, you're absolutely right. My point being is, though, they paid the wrong guys. So, yes, you're right. I figure, you know what? Maybe if they would have made those moves, then they wouldn't have paid those guys, and it would have, or at least one of them anyway.
To talk about some of what Steve said, though, a couple of those players are under rookie contracts still. So you would have had them still at a cheap price. Minka is still at a rookie contract.
Minka's still a rookie contract.
Well, that was the biggest thing. He was in the league for a year and 2 months or whatever, or, a year and 2 weeks. So you're getting a guy. That's why, dude, draft day sucked. Steelers didn't have a first-round draft pick, so I'm watching this for nothing, just for, craps and giggles. But at the same time, like, even though I was so annoyed we didn't have a pick, I'm like, well, we used to pick on Minka. What are you going to do? And I ain't mad. Okay. Like, it sucks tonight, but I ain't mad.
Right, exactly.
You have Devin Bush, Casey Hampton, Devin Bush, and then Minka in the backfield there. And you're solid up the middle.
Still got Joe Hayden. Right, yeah. Listen, man, a great foundation, man. Great foundation. Right. Steve says already over the cap for 2021 as a season ticket holder. I'm beside myself. It's going to be a rough 5 years, Steve. I agree. I hope it's not 5 years, but it's going to be a rough time no matter what. Now, we did say earlier in the show we were going to let people come in. Again, if you want to get on with us for 5 to 10 minutes, let us know. I'll send you the link. It'd be great to chalk it up. All you need is a webcam and a microphone, and we're good to go. Even if you want to use your webcam and your web phone, it's all good, man. I will send you the link. It'll be fun. I got my boy Jamar checking in, who is going to be doing a college show. Jamar Dean, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I like it.
Jamar,
I don't like that hat, Jamar. What's going on?
Hit the mute button. There you go. What's up, Jamar? You hit it again. Hit it again. We had it. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. What's up, Jamar? How you doing, buddy?
What's happening, y'all? What's going on?
Oh, man. Look, you got the Clemson in the background. You got the color. Look, John's already like
it. But black and gold's taking over now. You better watch out.
Is that a San Antonio Holmes jersey?
Nah, this is Claypool.
Oh, that's Claypool. I'm thinking, right? See, I went right to San Antonio Holmes, man.
Yeah,
I got to change Claypool jersey. What's going on, Dave? Me and you were kind of like in the middle here.
I know. I don't like all the Steelers stuff taking over.
You see the smiles on these faces?
Yeah, that's a playoff smile.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So, Jamar, talk to me, man, while we're here. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb. You mentioned Justin Jefferson. Let me get your take. What on this whole situation, what do you foresee the Jamar crystal ball? What's going to happen in this offseason?
So, really, in the offseason, I'm not an Eagles fan. So, my wife is. So, I have to spend a lot of time watching it. So, from that perspective, I will definitely say that you guys need to go after linemen, either defensive or offensive linemen. There's a really good offensive line that was at Notre Dame this year, so you can pick some of those guys. Bama normally has a pretty good offensive line.
They got a strong left tackle.
Yeah, definitely. So that should be something that you aim for. I know people have been in the last couple of years in the draft. They've been getting offensive linemen, defensive linemen early in the draft, first round. And they've been worth it because that's like your cornerstone of your team. The Jalen Reagor pick for me personally was a stupid pick. And, I watch a lot of college football, and I'm telling you right now, I didn't see enough from him at TCU that would have put him over Justin Jefferson who completely obliterated that college football playoff championship game against a really stout Clemson defense.
So, Jamar, I'm going to ask you something. We're not scouts, but the top receiver on LSU playing against the top talent in NCAA against a TCU kid who was a talented player, but who are we going to go with? If we could just not even see them play, a TCU kid or an LSU kid.
I'll take the LSU kid.
I'm going to roll the dice, right? Thank you, Jamar. I mean, it's not that difficult. We're not climbing Mount Everest here, and it's ridiculous.
And just to point this out really quick, because I don't think a lot of people realize this, but LSU is DBU. So he's playing against top DBs every day. That's what makes Jamar Chase a really good pick this coming year for anybody who needs a receiver. Even though Devontae Smith just won the Heisman, he's going to be the front runner for the first receiver taken. But I don't want people to forget about Jamar Chase. He's going to be a really big piece. And that could really, honestly, if Philly's going to go get a receiver, then I would go get them. But it really just depends on what your cup of tea. But the Jalen Hurts pick wasn't a great pick for the second round unless they were trying to do something, which I think they were trying to do. Somebody down the line knew something. I don't know if it was the injuries or if it was something a little bigger, if they kind of felt some type of divide coming in the locker room. I don't know what that was, but it just seems to be really strange foreshadowing that you go grab Jalen Hurts in the second round. And it wasn't like it was a situation with Aaron Rodgers when you go get him and he becomes like a pushing mechanism to make him play better. Wentz isn't really wired that way. So if you bring somebody in kind of like a Tom Brady, Garoppolo situation, he's going to do the opposite. He's either going to push that guy out to make room for him to be who he is, or he's going to leave himself. So, it puts you guys in a really bad situation as far as draft picks and going forward.
Tony, can I ask another question?
Go ahead. Yeah, we got an audience question too. Go ahead, Dave.
Jamar, do you think Jalen Hurts can be a starter in the NFL and be successful? I don't care if it's the Eagles or the Steelers or whoever.
So in my honest opinion with Jalen Hurts is that he's a high character guy. So you can put him in a locker room and they're gonna gel around him. Is he physically talented enough throwing the ball to probably lead a team? Maybe not. But just what you saw this year with him in the games that you did see, they didn't win, but they were 1-3. But that team played with their heads on fire with him.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need. And I've said this a lot of times about Tim Tebow, and a lot of people don't believe this, but Tim Tebow went to Pittsburgh and beat them. And then he was just kind of out of the league. And, they get these things in their head about this is what the quarterback's supposed to look like. But the quarterback's supposed to lead and win. Yeah. So really, what are we saying?
You know what? And what came to about heart and legs. And that says both of them to a T. They got heart and they got legs to make a play happen when they need to. If the game's on the line, they need a third down or whatever, they got the heart and they got the legs to make it happen. Maybe it's a pass, maybe not. But if the pass ain't there, they're taking it. They're athletes, and they're superstars in their mind and in their hearts.
They hide deficiencies. It's one of the biggest things I liked about Jalen Hurts, why I said I thought he needed to be in here this year, because our offensive line was atrocious, and he would have hit that deficiency a little more than Carson was able to. Now, Robert checking in. What's up, Robert? How you doing, buddy? He says, Jamar digging Kayvon Wallace on the Eagles, or is he trash? Clemson evaluator needed. There you go, Jamar. First question of the night. Go ahead, brother.
So Kayvon Wallace at Clemson was a big cornerstone for our defense. And as you can see this year, our secondary was trash. And we completely got obliterated by Ohio State. So you can tell the big loss with him and A.J. Terrell that's in with Atlanta now. So you can see the cornerstone that he was. Right now, where you guys have him playing, he's going to be good. He's not Brian Dawkins good, but he's going to be good. He's gonna settle down. He's going to get into the system. And he's going to work himself out. He's a hard worker. But I don't really think at the end of the day, I don't think he ends up being Brian Dawkins, but he does have a good career with the Eagles.
I hope you're right, because we definitely we need that, because we definitely don't have enough talent on this team at all. Robert says Jalen Reagor is Jeremy Blue 2.0, useless punt returner. I love it. Jeremy Blue, he was a skiing guy, right? In Colorado.
Yeah.
Was he from Colorado? I think,
Yeah.
right? Was it right? The skiing Olympics?
Yeah.
That was another. We way overthought that pick as usual. That's what it's been going on for years. Now, here's a good question for we'll go around the circle here with everybody, because Dave, I'll start with you, because Al wants to know: is there any young defensive coaches in college that we should look at? So, Dave, in your opinion, what do you think of Jamar? I know you're the college guy, so I'll let you add to that too. So, what do you think, Dave?
Well, listen, I'm glad you asked that, Al, because I had my niece again do some homework for me, and the top.
Yeah, wait a minute.
20
I gotta say this for a second here. I'm working my ass off on the show, and Coach Dave got an intern, and I ain't got no damn intern.
Yeah,
something wrong with this. I need to talk to Gina.
Gina Marie is available, and she's very, very educated in her sports work. So she named 11 players or 11 coaches here. And,
wow.
And
I love it.
Her and I discussed it tonight over dinner. My wife made a beautiful meal for us. And I said, all right, with your homework, let's go over a couple of these guys. Right? Matt Burke is the Eagles defensive line coach. I said, don't ever name me another Eagles defensive coach to take over this team. She got in trouble for that. All right. So there's some interesting guys, but you asked about a young coach, and I'm very intrigued by one particular player or coach, and Jamar's going to talk about him in a minute after I do, because he should know him. And his name is Jim Leonard from Wisconsin, the defensive coordinator. He played 10 years in the NFL. He was a safety. He's done a marvelous job at Wisconsin for the last couple of years, leading their team. If you know about the Big Ten, which they're about running the football and strong defenses and strong play. And the fact that he played 11 or 10 years in the league, he knows the game. He knows how to deal with the players, and he's been around young players, which is good when you're drafting, when you need to build a defense, which we need to do. So he's my young guy. The intriguing guys also Dan Quinn and Gus Bradley, formerly from the latest. Gus Bradley was the Chargers DC, and Dan Quinn was obviously the ex-Falcons head coach. They're the two that stick out to me. They're the three that stick out to me the most. I think we need an identity again back for the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and there's a certain way to do that. I don't necessarily know if bringing in a young guy is the answer, because I'm concerned about that. But you know what? If you're rebuilding the whole defensive side of the ball, you're probably better off doing that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would love some young blood. I would, but I think you make a good point, because if you look at different scenarios around the league, you mentioned Gus Bradley and Dan Quinn, two guys that the head coach experiment just didn't work. Steve Spagnuolo is another guy. The head coaching experience didn't work, but when he went back to be a defensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs, it's worked again. He's found his home again. So guys like Dan Quinn are intriguing to me, because I never thought Dan Quinn was going to be a good head coach, and I think he's a tremendous defensive coach. And I think Gus Bradley the same way. So we watched it this year with Jack Del Rio. Was it a great head coach in Jacksonville? Tremendous guy again, for the Washington football team. So we look at these scenarios happen all the time. So Jamar, speaking of Jim Leonard, speaking of the college game, what's your feelings? Are any other guys we should be looking at that maybe could do some justice here on the Philadelphia Eagles?
So I have a little bit of bias because I'm a Clemson fan, but I think one of the best defensive coordinators in college football is Brent Venables. He's actually the highest paid defensive coordinator. I think he makes around $4 or $5 million a year. He's definitely the highest paid. He's definitely had consistent defenses that have been ranked in the top 5 in at least 5 years. And of course, he had that major, big top 4 that year. He had Christian Wilkins and Farrell and all those guys. But outside of that, Jeremy Pruitt, he's the head coach at Tennessee. And he's a head coach at Tennessee. They aren't doing so hot. But as a defensive coordinator, he's unmatched. He is from that Nick Saban tree. He definitely gives you a lot of the feels that he would probably step into the the NFL world as a coordinator, opposed to just stepping right into that top coaching spot, head coaching spot. So I think that would be a good one. Or Arnada at LSU. They got torched this year. So let me preface that by saying they were torched like badly this year. LSU was not the LSU of last year with Joe Burrow, but like I said, they're DBU. And if you're having any issues with your secondary, that is the name of his game is the secondary. He'll get your secondary tightened up for sure. So those are just three guys I can think of. Just one. I don't think Brent Venables is going anywhere anytime soon, making the amount of money he's making. And both of his sons play for Clemson now. So he's probably there for at least 3 or 4 more years. And maybe Pruitt. Maybe Pruitt's willing to leave, especially if they keep stoning him and, hitting his car with eggs every time they lose. So,
we just throw batteries in Philadelphia. We throw batteries in Philadelphia.
Or punch police horses.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, man. I mean, I know you named all these good college guys, and we talked about. But John, you got anybody from Pittsburgh we can have? I'm just wondering, man. Like,
no, you can't get nobody from Pittsburgh, and I don't even have any college. I'm not going to waste the listeners' time with anything I got to say in terms of college coaches qualified for the Eagles DC.
Al says, if we miss on one of these wide receivers, we will be okay with another of the top wide receivers, or should we move on to another position? That's a good question, because that's been coming up. A lot of people are like, should we go, draft a wide receiver with the number 6 pick? And I know we're a long way out. A lot of different things can happen. One thing I will say is the most successful position in the top 10 of every draft is always defensive and offensive linemen. It just is. I mean, the last guy you picked was Lane Johnson. It was a no-brainer in the first round, and he is your franchise cornerstone right tackle. So, in my opinion, even though we need a wide receiver, unfortunately, I still think that you're better off. People are going to kill me, but if there's a top-rated offensive lineman, listen, we have some major issues on the offensive line. I still think. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not Howie picking these guys. I'm hoping they make a change, but you should still be able to get a very serviceable wide receiver in the second or third round. Now, again, I'm not a college guy, so we talk about Devonta Smith, we talk about Jamar Chase. I have no idea. Are they the next Megatron? If you're telling me they're next Megatron or the next, then yes, in my opinion, you have no choice but to draft those guys. But if not, I still go offensive, defensive line. That's what I would do. So, you know what I mean? That's where I would go.
The one thing that's crazy is, like you just said, Megatron. You know who was one of the offensive beasts, or not even offensive, but in the combine and everything, was Hakeem Butler.
Yes.
Who I wanted the Steelers to draft Hakeem Butler when he came out. And then when the Eagles had all the tight end injuries, you guys signed him as a tight end, because he fell out of favor with all the receivers in Arizona.
That is true.
He was a physical beast, tall, big, and he had a quick 40 time.
Yeah, I mean, Robert checking in says, Tars, I agree. He says he's throwing mechanics. Now, we're talking about Jalen Hurts here. His throwing mechanics can be polished to get a little more arm strength. Hurts' vision and awareness to look down the field while rolling out of the pocket is encouraging. Do we go O-lineman to replace Kelsey in the second round, or a cornerback for the horrendous secondary? Listen, I'll parlay this to Jamar, but what I could say is I still think that I don't think we can go wrong this year, because we have holes at every single position. But again, my feeling, Jamar can tell me if I'm wrong, but my feeling is, unless you're telling me that this is, one of these two guys are the next Megatron, I'm going offensive lineman in the first round if one guy's there. Jamar, am I getting the next Megatron in this draft?
There's really not really one. There's not a next Megatron. There's not a next Julio Jones, but a lot of people don't really realize it. In a lot of these drafts, a lot of the quarterbacks that play in the Pac-12 and running backs that play and receivers that play in the Pac-12, they don't get a lot of pub, because football is culturally a Southeastern thing now, with the exception of Ohio State. So a lot of times what happens is, the big Mel Kiper's big board will come out, and if you don't recognize the name, you'll automatically assume that kid's not any good. If you guys recall, the year that DeAndre Hopkins came out, he came out with Sammy Watkins. And Sammy Watkins, we know, is a pretty decent player at Kansas City. They both played at Clemson, but at at Clemson, Watkins completely outshined DeAndre Hopkins. He just did. Funny fact, DeAndre Hopkins and my brother used to share a room at AAU camp back in the day. They played ball together. But those two guys that were in the same draft, and DeAndre Hopkins has had a tremendously better career than Watkins. He's had some injuries. So, I mean, is there another Megatron? Probably not, but there are probably some hidden gems in there too. Guys we weren't talking about. So, Ohio State's got Chris Olave. He's a really good receiver. Watch out for him. They also have a pretty stout tight end core as well. It might be the next. Wisconsin has a pretty good set of tight ends as well, so that might be something we might looking at as kind of like a similar player to Travis Kelce or a younger.
Has a couple of tight ends too, Jamar.
Yeah. So these are all teams that the tight end position is becoming more like if you can move, you can move. In Pitts, like Florida, if you get Pitts is going to get dropped pretty low. He will still be available. So if you want a receiver that's also a stud at a tight end, like like I said, like a Ertz. Well, Ertz can't really move as good as Kelce, but George Kittle, then I think you should probably take Pitts. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up anywhere pretty much on the offensive, and he will do good for you.
I love it. This is why the man knows college, man.
How about defensive end, Jamar?
He's talking name. I don't even know who half these guys are. I'm not ashamed because I'm not a college guy.
So I can't say his name, but the kid from Notre Dame that he plays middle linebacker. They haven't playing middle linebacker now, but he will probably in the NFL be more of a kind of like a spur or a defensive end that they use at kind of like a TJ Watt. They use him in a bunch of different places, but he's really probably more size to be a defensive end, a quicker defensive end. He use him like a Swiss Army knife. They even put him like Isaiah Simmons. They put him at corner sometimes, just for fun. So that guy's out there. It's an African name. I don't want to butcher his name, and I'm sorry I don't know it off the top. But he's definitely a Swiss Army knife for anybody that's looking.
I think excited. You can't go wrong. 6th pick overall. I'm looking possibly, to me, Tony, if the offensive tackle is available, if the number 1 or 2 let's be specific. Left tackle is on the board.
Yes.
I think you take him. If the number 1 defensive end in the nation, whoever that is at the number 6 pick, I think you take him. Other than that, I think the top cornerback you have to take. Those 3 positions to me are your cornerstones in the NFL. DB, not safety, corner, left tackle, and defensive end.
I agree.
You say corner?
Yes, corner.
So Ohio State has a corner, Hooker. He was just made available for the Clemson game, and he completely shut down the pass offense for us. And, they wouldn't even throw to his side. You got Surtain as well. He's out there. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different college guys. You probably have heard the names thrown around that, they're not blowing smoke for fun. Like, and just a fun fact, in case anybody was wondering, we have Jeremiah Trotter's son. We have Junior coming to Clemson. So he's an early signee at freshman.
St. Joe's Prep. And his little brother is playing on that prep team as well.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead. You're good.
I was just saying, like, I coach at Neshaminy, so I kind of know the guys that are coming from here. So I take a look at kind of what's going on, and sometimes the guys up north, they don't want to go down south to play, but we treat football like a religion down there. But so does Philly. So I mean, Philly and Pittsburgh they treat it like a religion. If you do something wrong in Philly or Pittsburgh, you can find yourself looking for somewhere else to live because they might burn it down.
I love it. Rob checks in again. Says, "How about Justin Rose? 6'4" at 205 pounds, big body to take a place. Bankroll theft known to all as Alshon." I love it. I don't know anything about Justin Rose. Okay, so I'm going to defer right to Jamar with that one. And here's another one, Jamar. What do you think? Tutu Atwell. I've been following him since high school. So if you could touch on those 2 guys as well.
Okay, so Justin Ross is so he had a congenital back problem, and he plays at Clemson as well. So he would have been our number 1 receiver this year. But he kind of he was out, so he didn't get to play. He's a legit beast. In that the first national championship that Trevor Lawrence had, He actually was a freshman, and he caught probably 130 yards in that national championship game to beat Alabama. So he's got some upside on him, and he's still I think he's number 2 or 3 in all-time receiving at Clemson. And he's definitely a beast. I think he's going to be in college another year, though. So he's had the back problem, so I think he's going to stay a year. Because he's different than DK Metcalf. He's a big body, but he ain't big like that. He's a big guy, but he ain't DK Metcalf big. DK Metcalf look like Debo, and he kind of different.
Rest in peace, Debo.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about Debo Samuel.
Oh, I'm talking about Friday Debo.
Oh yeah, rest in peace, that guy.
Rest in peace.
I was gonna say, what was it, David Boston?
Yeah,
Boston was a big dude.
Yes, he was. He looked like he was so big. He looked like he couldn't even run. I mean, he was that big, man. He was insane. He was a beast, definitely. And also, what do you think about Tutu Atwell? I don't even know who Tutu Atwell is. I've been following him since high school. So please help me out. Who is Tutu Atwell? So
it's funny because I don't like Tutu Atwell because he played at Louisville. So I have an issue, but not because of the player that he is. But he's kind of undersized. He's only 5'9". He's from Miami, so he's a speedster. He would be it would put you kind of in the mind of like a D.D. Westbrook or at Oklahoma or something like that. He's more like a speed guy. He can get away from you. He's super elusive though. I wouldn't take him in the second round. He'll probably be there in the later round.
Take him in the sixth.
Take him in the sixth. Yeah,
we'll take him.
yeah. Make sure that if he don't work out, you can let him go and nobody will really know about it.
Right. I like that. I like that.
He's a good guy. He's out of the ACC, so he could end up being pretty decent. But I'm not against him. He's definitely a baller. He's just a smaller guy. He puts me in the mind of like a Rhaegar, but So I know how you guys feel about him.
Then. We're drafting him high.
Yeah, great. We're gonna have 2 Reggers and a J-Jaw. Man, we are setting the world on fire next year. Let me tell you, I cannot. Well, I'm already excited.
You should be.
But listen, this is why again, Jamar, want to stick around for the rest of the show? We got about a half hour left.
Let's go, man. I'm down. I'll sit.
All right, beautiful. And again, Jamar, Heat Ratio Sports Network, the College Flashpoint. He's going to have a show every Friday night. This is why the man just talks college. He breathes college. He lives college. Former athlete at Clemson, and he knows the game. You already see he's spitting knowledge like crazy. I couldn't even tell you those guys' initials, let alone what their body types are, or where they play, which is tremendous. So I just want to segue a little bit into the NFL playoffs. And, we've talked Eagles. We got about 15, 20 minutes left in the show. I want to touch a little bit on the Sixers, too, because we got to give them some love. I know, Al, you're listening. You're going to love that. But the NFL playoffs, number one, John, this whole Cleveland thing with COVID is just going to start taking over the headlines, right? So now what I'm hearing, or not what I'm hearing, but, what's as legitimate is, they had to shut the facility down. Looks like Kevin Stefanski, is he going to be able to coach, which really sucks because he's most likely going to be the coach of the year, in my opinion. Again, him or Sean McDermott. But listen, this is why you never know what's going to happen, during this pandemic, because it can happen at any time. I mean, could you imagine if this happened at the Super Bowl? But, that's another story for a day. But Pittsburgh, Cleveland, John, I'm going right to you. I've been waiting for this matchup. I can't wait to see it when actually the real players are playing. What's your take on this game?
Well, whoever's coaching, how hard is it to say run Nick Chubb? I mean, let's get real here.
That's true.
I mean, if that is Cleveland's MO, if he comes out and rushes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's what they need to win the game. Bottom line. So I'm not saying losing the coach doesn't hurt. What hurts is no Joe Hayden because he's going to be on like day 9 of his quarantine or whatever. So yes. I don't know exactly what day, but like if the game were to move to like probably Tuesday, I bet you he's able to play. I don't know the exact date. Saturday night was when I heard the positive and they got the 10-day, but that's a bit, I don't know. That's your number one corner. You're down your number one corner because of COVID. So I'm just saying,
Wait, do you think they can move the playoff game?
I have no idea.
Jamar's saying, yeah, you think they would move the playoff game?
Have they even talked about moving?
I don't know. I
But
haven't heard.
even do it.
I don't know.
If you move that Sunday game to Tuesday, I mean, unless you're talking about skipping a whole week, you can't have like teams playing like off week. But even if you move that Sunday game to a Tuesday, it's not like you could pick up any time. Now you're dealing with teams that are going on 4 days rest, unless if a game gets postponed because of COVID, unless they postpone every game. I think it's just going to be tough to do, and take advantage of that blank week and say, well, Pittsburgh Cleveland game has to be postponed or whatever. I don't know.
Who becomes available if they change it to Tuesday?
What's that?
Who becomes available if they change it to Tuesday?
Joe Hayden probably would in terms of the Steelers.
One player?
In terms of the Steelers, but the question is more, the outbreak is on the
Browns.
On the Brown side.
And that's just right now.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Because they just played each other. So we don't know what the overall the fallout is going to be. Like right now we're thinking, okay, it's just Joe Hayden for our guys and whatever. But that was previous to the game before anyway. So really, in all honesty, they don't have their head coach. So yeah, we're missing Joe Hayden and we're missing a lot of guys, but as we all know, Clemson, same thing happened to us. We missed our offensive coordinator and everything went to shit. So, So I mean, you start taking coaches away and, key players, they already only beat us with the backup by a very, very slim margin. So I don't foresee Big Ben losing that way now because he's kind of got a taste of it. It's kind of like he's got blood on his tongue a little bit. And now I think he's going to be kicking into high gear. Claypool's getting the ball again, which I'm super happy about because he was supposed to hit a rookie wall. They were trying to stop him from hitting whatever rookie wall that they were talking about.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all.
He pulled that page out of Doug Peterson's book.
Yeah, that's a bad book. You don't want to read that book. Put that book back on the shelf. You don't want no part of that book, man. Al says, first of all, they should move the game. Second, if they don't, the Browns have zero shot of winning this game. I absolutely agree. I do. What's up, Dave? What you got?
Well, some of the Claypool, I mean, this is not the playoff picture, but such an interesting player. Like he wasn't in high school. He wasn't playing football that long. And he was recruited by Notre Dame. He's like, the story I read is like, is that a good school to go to? Like the kid was so raw, he wasn't even sure. And the Pittsburgh Steelers end up with him. And who do we have? Rager? Did you say his name? Is that
Ray? I think he's like Rhaegon, like off of the Game of Thrones. He's one of the dragons.
Yeah, I wish he was a dragon.
Poor Jalen, man. Poor Jalen. Davis Nixon at Iowa or Barmore at Bama. Malik is gone and Cox battles double teams each game. I read that Barmore is a ferocious pass rusher, which we need with our cement feet linebackers. Thanks, Jamar. Robert, as always, thanks for the comments, brother, because, again, I don't even know who those guys are. But again, yeah, makes a good point there real fast. He says Malik gone, and I think that's one of the things that you could see. Everybody thinks that because they restructured the deals of Alshon and Malik, they're necessarily – I don't necessarily think they're gone. I think Alshon is gone, but I think that restructure was a way to look and shop Fletcher Cox and to keep Malik Jackson on his team. I really do, because I think that the Eagles are thinking, Fletcher Cox has got a big money number, and if they could, $21 million over the cap already, like Steve mentioned earlier, so they have a lot of fishing to do. So that's definitely something that's going to be in the works. But getting back to the playoffs, let me just ask you guys this, because I don't want to go through every game. It's kind of cliche. I hate doing that. Just I'll go around and Dave, I'll start with you. Just give me the one game this weekend that you're looking forward to seeing. Okay, it could be Saturday, Sunday. Whether we got Colts, Bills, Rams, Seahawks, Bucks, Washington, Ravens, Titans, Bears, Saints, Browns, Steelers. Out of those 6 games, what game, number one, are you most excited to watch? And number two, out of this weekend, what team do you think comes out as a clear-cut favorite going forward?
Oh boy, clear-cut favorite.
Just and what I mean by not the winning Super Bowl, but just the clear-cut favorite going on to the next rail.
All right, I'll try and touch on that one first, and I'll say I think because Tampa Bay is playing Washington, I think that their path might be a little bit easier than most, right? So I'm going to say the clear-cut favorite to advance to the next game is going to be Tampa Bay, in my opinion, and I actually believe that they will beat Green Bay. So the most intriguing game to me has to be Cleveland-Pittsburgh, just because of all the other backstory stuff with all this COVID nonsense, and it's interesting to see. Cleveland's in the playoffs again for the first time. I'm happy to see that. I know the Steelers fans are not, but personally, I think it's great for football to have them. They're a passionate fan base, and I'd like to see them in it. So I think that's the most intriguing game. The clear-cut path to the next level, I think Tampa Bay Bucks got that.
Interesting. I like that. Go ahead, John.
By the way, Steelers fans don't really care that the Browns made the playoffs. We've ended their season like 14 out of 20 years, like 14 of the past 20 years. So we ain't worried about Cleveland making the playoffs at the moment.
So who you got, John? We'll stick with you. Who do you got this weekend? What game are you looking forward to, and who you think's got clear cut for the next round?
Well, I'll go with my top three. Number 3 would be the Steelers as the homer pick. I mean, number 2, truthfully, it's almost a tie. The Ravens-Titans game, I think, is going to be the most exciting game. But the game that I think I want to see the most is I want to see old Tom Brady with that Washington defensive line. I want to see – I'm saying that game might be over in the first quarter, okay? I'm not saying that Washington might not be down 17 points quickly, or Brady might be out of he might be wincing a little bit by halftime. I don't know. I want to see how that game plays out. But so I would like to watch the first quarter and a half and then flip to, if they were on the same time, flip to the Ravens-Titans game. That's the one that'll end well. But
is Leonard Fournette healthy for this weekend?
He's healthy, but they decided to dress him instead of LaShawn McCoy last weekend. So
Ronald Jones is back. He's back with his finger thing. So
yeah, he's back.
You're going to get 30 attempts rushing the ball from Bruce Arians this weekend against.
You think so?
Yeah.
I like it. Jamar, what are we looking at this weekend, buddy?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got
you. Okay, you're good.
All right, so my most intriguing game, because of who I am, I want to see the Bills and the Colts.
Yes.
Because everything matters about this Colts team. Because if this Colts team can do something with Phillip Rivers, it would affect his salary for next year. And I'm looking at that from a Philadelphia Eagles perspective, because they need to move on, because Jacoby Brissett isn't the guy, and neither is Rivers. So if they get smashed by Josh Allen, the kid's out. Next, the game that I guess second one will be the Ravens and Titans, because I'm really not sold on Lamar Jackson. I like him, I'm just not sold on him. So we'll see how he does. And we want to see if they can stop that truck that's coming through there. Derrick Henry's a truck. He's not a man, he's a truck. He has 4 wheels. That's how he gets done. And last but not least, I want to see if Russ can cook. I want to see if they're going to let Russ cook.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You're a little in and out on the last one.
I want to see if they'll let Russ cook.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, are they exactly? Because they haven't. They haven't lately. They went back to being conservative and running the ball. So that's a good point. I would like to see that as well. Definitely, 100%. It looks like Tar's checking in, says his clear-cut favorite is the Saints. They will stomp the Bears. I completely agree. Al's got Bills, Seahawks, Tampa, Titans, Saints in a blowout, and the Steelers. And Tar's most intriguing game for him is Titans versus Ravens. I'm with Jamar. My most intriguing game is the Bills and the Bills and the Colts, because again, I'm really curious to see. again, I was all in on Buffalo in the preseason. I was all in them all season. But I want to see how Josh Allen, basically portrays himself, when the lights are on in this primetime game in the playoffs. First playoff game against a really good, underrated defense that a lot of people don't talk about. They get to the quarterback. Their linebackers are very, very good, which is going to be able to spy Josh Allen and keep him more at bay than he's used to. So I'm very curious, but they have such a tremendous offense that I don't think they're in danger of losing this game. I'm just curious at how they are going to, basically be productive during this game. Now, going forward, it's the same thing. I love the Bills going forward no matter who they face. I don't care. And yes, I'm picking them to beat Kansas City as well. They are my favorite to go to the Super Bowl. Ooh. But I'll tell you what, Dave, one thing I will say, I actually think of all 6 games, the biggest game that has the biggest odds to be an upset is the Washington football team over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I will tell you why. I honestly do. I'll tell you why. Because, you mentioned about Bruce Arians, and and I get it. But something has clicked on that defense in Washington. And Del Rio is going to have one hell of a game plan for that team. He knows that Tom Brady doesn't like to get hit. And I'll tell you what, we can watch every game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they do not do a good job of protecting Tom Brady. And I'll tell you what, that defensive line in Washington, if you can get Tom pissed, you knock Tom on his ass, he's going to be off his game. And they have now, again, we're bases on Alex Smith. I understand. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? But what I will say, you have a Mike Evans that's coming in. It's going to be hobbled, okay? Even though he didn't have any damage, he hyperextended his knee. I know he's going to play, but he's not going to be 100%. Antonio Brown is starting to break out. He's finally starting to come into his own. But he did that because Mike Evans wasn't on the field. So Chris Godwin, complete stud, I get it. But I'm just saying that we have seen too much inconsistency from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. And I have a bad feeling that they're not going to be able to hit a light switch and be 100% perfect, okay? So unless Bruce Arians is playing laser tag on the sideline with that big box he's wearing up and down, okay, I do not have the ultimate confidence in him beating Ron Rivera. I think that's the one game that intrigues me the most as far as being an upset. But either way, it's going to be a very exciting weekend. I can't wait. We got 2 primetime games, one Saturday night, one Sunday night. I'm just happy that we were able to get this season in because we talked about this year, right? We didn't even know we were going to have football. And now, right? What's that, John?
No, I mean, this may look. This is the first time. This may be known as the best NFL football weekend of the year. You have 3 games on 2 days in a row, all playoff games. Your football watching day starts at 1 p.m, 2 days in a row, and it goes until 11 at night. I mean, this is like NFL draft territory. You know what I mean?
Trust me. My wife does not like that.
I love this weekend, but next weekend is my number one. This is my second favorite weekend in the NFL, wild card weekend, but this is second. Next weekend to me is definitely the number one. But I agree, it's a fun time to be a football fan. I agree, John.
Well, 100%. Would have the 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. and then the 1 and the 4, but you're left out of a Sunday night and you're left out of an early Saturday game.
I just mean competition-wise. That's all.
Well, see, the funny thing about it is you guys miss out on this all year. I get this all year. So I'm a college guy. I get it from 12 in the afternoon to 10 at night. So when I want to watch the Pac-12 game. So
that's a good point.
You guys come over to my side, you'll be getting this all year.
I try, man.
I love the college football, Jamar. I'm with you, man. I do love it.
John, look at Al's comment. Says, what? Did he just say that? Like John knows. John knows. I say some off the wall stuff, but I just have that gut feeling, man. I have it. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely, listen, it's going to be an intriguing weekend. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. But let's end this show on some basketball a little bit. The 76ers have really, really excelled this year. And I know it's early. Again, I know it's early. But why can't we get excited? I always say it, like, everybody tells you, oh, calm down. Why? Why can't I? Listen, we've been through hell in the basketball town for how many years? Let us get excited, man. And again, listen, so many things have changed on this team. And I'll tell you what, the MVP in the early going right now, it has to go to Daryl Morey. I talked to, I had my final judgment segment today, on the Gambler, and it's the first thing I said, Daryl Morey came in and changed 99.9% of the deficiencies of this team in one night. It's crazy, and it's all worked. And one of the biggest things is we could absolutely understand that in the NBA, you cannot just be a six-man team. You have to go 8 or 9 deep in order to be able to compete, and that's what we are this year. We have a second squad, and one of the most important signings to me was the Dwight Howard signing. A lot wasn't made of that, and it was, and it is because I said this earlier, and tell me if you guys agree. One thing that I hate it, and I understand it's a part of the game, I hate load management. I can't stand it. I hate when we have to give guys off, right? I can't stand it. It bothered the hell out of me, okay? It did. But here's the thing. I think indirectly signing Dwight Howard, what that does, it allows you to not have to load manage Joel Embiid on off days. You can actually load manage him inside the game itself. And that's something we've never had. So guess what? There could be nights when Joel only plays 15 minutes or maybe 18 minutes. And you know what? Dwight Howard plays the rest. And maybe they'll even put that stiff Troy Brown or Tony Bradley in there, I should say. And maybe he'll play 5 minutes. But, here's the deal. It allows Joel to be more on the court than off the court, which I think is huge. And I'll tell you what, Dwight can still get it, man. He can still play. He is a physical specimen out there. I was watching him last night against Charlotte. Oh my, it was ridiculous. It's like a man amongst boys out there. It's unbelievable. I feel like he could still put the cape on and dunk for the foul on if he had to. I really do. It's just a tremendous signing. I'm really excited. We have shooters now. The spacing has been unbelievable. Doc Rivers fell into our laps. Thank God, okay, that he is our head coach, and it's not Mike D'Antoni, okay, who we thought, or Ty Lue. They both stink, in my opinion. They shouldn't have been here, okay? So, and the last thing I will say about Dwight Howard is Dwight Howard isn't here if Doc Rivers isn't here, and that's the Doc Rivers effect, which is huge. So, Dave, basketball, NBA, Sixers, 6-1. What's your? I know it's early, but you excited, man?
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited. It's fun to watch. They actually look like so their turnovers. Let's go talk about that. I know they haven't played everybody. I get all that. They're 6-1. They lost to Cleveland. I understand, hold your horses, but to Tony's point, it's good to be excited. It's refreshing to watch this team play basketball. They do a lot of little things better already than they did last year. They don't turn the ball over as much. When they're moving the ball on offense, they look like they're in unison and they do it with a purpose. I think Ben Simmons has been tremendous on defense, which if people have been listening, they know I'm a Ben Simmons fan. I think Joel Embiid looks like he's in shape, and he's actually logged, I think, number 1 or 2 minutes wise, the most on the team, believe it or not, in the games he's played. Dwight Howard is phenomenal. I'm still hopeful to see. I want to see Simmons, Howard, and Embiid on the floor at the same time. I'm truly most excited that in Morey's pick and Maxey, we drafted the right kid for the right spot. And this kid, does he look effortless to you?
Wow,
he looks
so effortless.
He looks
and how did he drop?
Smooth. He looks so smooth. I don't care. I'm glad he did. Whatever.
So am I.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, how did he drop down?
And Philly fans know we hardly ever draft the right guy. And this kid, he is so smooth, moving to the basket. He can slash. He can dribble. He can shoot. He plays tremendous defense. And it's refreshing. And Doc, first of all, that whole coaching staff, Everybody that they've added onto that is it's fun to watch basketball. What does Ben Simmons still can't shoot for?
Listen, and you know what? I like this comment. I do, because Tarz is right. Ben Simmons still can't shoot from the outside. Jigsaw, that's a problem. Work on your shooting, Simmons. He plays great D though. And again, I agree. And again, you're still limited with Ben. And that's going to, and that's what I will say. I'm looking forward to better competition with, because when teams will clamp down on the other guys and make Ben beat them, I'm curious to see how he responds. Because as of now, right now to this day, Al's going to kill the messenger here. But I'm telling you right now, if you still ask me, Ben for Harden, I'm doing it every time. So because I still think that it's still the move. I think the ceiling is where it's at for Ben Simmons. You're already seeing the best of Ben. He's playing phenomenal. But again, when they lock down Joel, if they lock down Seth Curry, if they lock down Tobias Harris and make Ben Simmons beat you, he's not going to be able to. They can't do that with Harden. Just my opinion. It just makes it stronger. So
I don't disagree with you. Give me one more thing, Jamar, and then I'll stop talking the rest of the night. Here's the difference in what I see in Ben Simmons, Tony. He's realizing, and Doc is realizing, that he can be effective scoring the hoop underneath the basket, posting up guys. He is effective offensively when needed. The other two games ago, they had a third-quarter drought where Ben Simmons broke the drought himself, scoring the hoop. I was excited to see that because they needed it. All their outside shots were clinking off the front of the rim, whatever, and Ben Simmons broke the scoring drought himself. So that's the maturity. That's a leader. He took the ball himself and scored. That's the difference that I see from Doc Rivers to translating that over to Ben Simmons, and it's exciting to watch. He's not the outside shooter, but he can dominate somebody guarding him underneath the basket, and he can get you points there.
It's a good point. What do you think, Jamar? What do you think of this team?
So, first off, I'm a big Sixers fan. So, big Sixers fan. So, this is right up my alley. Whatever, Doc Rivers has brought something to the Sixers that they needed, that they didn't get in the last few years, and that was continuity. Continuity in the sense of he's been there. He knows how to win. He knows how to put people in position to win. The unsung hero of this whole thing that's a vet that has winning experience is Danny Green. Danny Green a lot of people don't know, he's won 2 championships in a row. He kind of puts me in the mind of like a Robert Ory. Like
Big shot Bob.
Yeah, Big Shot Bob. He's not gonna be the guy that gets all the hype, but he knows how to win and he knows how to be a teammate. And Seth Curry's kind of got a chip on his shoulder. He's got to prove because Steph is out here scoring 60, so he's gonna bring something to the table. Ben doesn't really bother me with him not being able to shoot because his defense is superb. He's probably gonna be in the top to win Defensive Player of the Year again. So I mean, we can kind of put that shooting thing. Rondo couldn't shoot at first either. Like let's get that straight. And so Doc knows how to work with that. If you're a point guard that can't shoot, he can work with that. Magic Johnson couldn't shoot at first either. So like we gotta kind of get away from saying these point guards got to be great shooters. They don't have to be. And Maxey, I cannot say enough about the kid. He reminds me of the kid from Cleveland, the one they drafted from Alabama. I can't think of his name. He reminds me of him. He's super effortless. He can get to the basket. He can also create on his own. So it's going to.
You say Colin Sexton?
Sexton. He puts me in the mind of like Sexton, but not in the sense of they play the same. But he's just as twitchy. He can move. Like I was a point guard in school, and I know how hard it is to move, like to space, to get everything to work for the big guys. Because at the end of the day, the bread and butter is Joel Embiid. If Joel is playing physical basketball and down where he needs to be at, under the basket, scoring easy buckets, then they have no other problems because you're going to have to drop down to help out because you're not just going to let him thrash you for 50. So you're going to step down, you're going to kick it out, Seth's going to hit, Danny Green's going to hit, and Tobias Harris, because he's playing like he played for Doc Rivers when he played at the Clippers, and that's what we all wanted to see.
Yep.
So I feel I'm hopeful, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Al says Seth Curry is better and younger JJ, and it surprised me with his off the dribble. Harris has been consistent. JoJo doing what he does, and the extra pass is the key to the offense. I agree. Listen, Seth Curry has surprised me. One thing I didn't realize about Steph Curry's game is he was able to dribble drive with consistency like he has right now. I don't know if that is, more of confidence in him, by Doc Rivers, or maybe he just didn't get the opportunity to do that in Dallas. But, what's nice to see is that's something that we need. It's an added element. And Al, you're right. The spacing on the floor, just the extra passes, 4 to 5 passes, it's huge, man. It reminds me of like Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. How many times are you going to pass? 4. Right? 4 if we're allowed to shoot. Like, it's crazy. The ball movement has been great. Al's asking me would I stop saying that. And that's the whole Ben Simmons for James Harden thing. I'm sorry, Al. It's the way I feel, man. It's just the way I feel. Tar says Rondo took shots. He was never scared to let it fly and could do the mid-range. Ben won't shoot the ball at all when he's open. Big difference. I did see him shoot a 3, right? He did, and he made it. Okay, I get it. And maybe it will never be in his game. And I've consistently said that I don't need Ben to shoot. I don't. It's almost like Coach Dave said earlier. I need Ben to finish. And that's one of the things that he was always too indecisive. He could get to the rim whenever he wanted, but he was too focused on dishing the ball instead of just finishing at the rim. If he'd finished at the rim, 5 of those assists would have turned into 6 buckets, would have been 12 points, okay, which would have gave him a 22, 23 point per game average. So he can score with the best of them. He's never going to be a great shooter. We got to let that shit go. He's not. It's not in his MO, but all he needs to do is finish. So I think that's one of the things we really have to talk about. And Al says the problem that people look at Dame, Curry, Harden, Irving, Luka, and Ben to be them. He's not going to be that. Exactly. We need Ben to be Ben. He will shoot more. Relax. We are 6-1. Enjoy. Al, I am relaxed. I'm excited. I am. I'm just saying that I'm still on the Ben for Harden wagon. I'm calling it out there that if they came knocking at my door, I'm giving them the keys, man. I will take Ben to the airport, get him on a plane to Houston, and I will take me James Harden. I'll keep him away from the strip club. I'll make sure he's fit. He'll be okay as long as he's going to give me 35 points per game. I am all in.
Can you imagine James Harden eating Philly cheesesteaks every night?
Yo, actually, it's funny you say that. I have in my mind, I'm thinking, I could see him at D'Alessandro's in line all the time, right? But he's got the Donovan McNabb mold, man.
Yeah. No,
so,
he looks like
what I mean? So we might have to keep him away from that.
If Harden came to Philly and started eating cheesesteaks, he looked like Kyle Alamine at UConn. He'd be big, he looked like a butterball. He'd be rolling.
Maybe he could play left tackle next year then. Maybe we can get him to play left tackle.
Yeah, maybe he could. You never know. You never know. John, man, I know you're not the huge basketball guy, but I know you like the sport, man. You excited about the Sixers team early on?
Yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, the guys came to work this year. You got new blood in Dwight. You got you got Seth Curry coming on board. Danny Green hasn't really been an impact as of yet, but I like Seth. I had him in my fantasy league last year, so I was watching him last year. Yes, he's impressing more than I expected him to, but I just think they all came to work. I mean, that's the biggest difference. And I'll tell you what, this team would not be playing like this if Brett Brown were still there.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. We made this move a couple years too late, but you know what? Thankfully we did because we got the right coach. I mean, that's a saving grace of this whole entire
better thing. Coach, right? Yeah. Coach, don't know. Better coach, at least. Yes, we can all guarantee that.
Absolutely.
And real quick, there's no better, and I'm married, so there's no better motivating factor than your father-in-law being your head coach as well. So that's also a great motivating factor, and the grandpa being able to see his new grandchild. So
that is true. That is true.
So, happy wife, happy life,
Yeah. Don't we all know that? Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, guys, we did it. It's an hour and 47 minutes, but we got to end on our last segment like we always do. So we will push the 2 hours, unfortunately, but that's okay. We had a lot of interjection, a lot of interaction. It was great. So again, this is the ending segment we do every week because we like to see what's in John C.D. Wallet over there because he gives us some tremendous sound every single week. Hopefully we get some good ones. So if you want to pick on John C.D. Will, give us a number from 1 to 5, 5 and 5 to 30. So, example, if you want 523 or 117, and, John will go down and see what he pulls out, and you may be surprised at what he pulls out. So, John, I'm going to go first right now. I'm going to make it easy for you, okay? And I'm going to go 3-3. Give me double threes.
And I pulled it close, so I ain't even got to get up.
Ah, look, that's a beautiful thing. That was smart. I like that. So I'm going to go 3-3.
It only took him a month to figure that out.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
We got, you guys probably haven't heard of it, Dayton Family.
What?
Dayton Family was a rap group. Did you guys ever hear of Top Authority?
No.
All right. Well, Top Authority was the original rap group that came out. I mean, they had some good beats, the mid 90s, late 90s. Dayton Family was like this other crew. They're from Flint, Michigan. That's where. So it was mid 90s rap out of Flint, Michigan. But I will tell you, this is the Dayton Family CD. This was like what came after Top Authority. That Top Authority CD, man, we would just play it on repeat, doing whatever we did. I
never even heard of it, and I'm like the ultimate rapper, man. Like I have no Top Authority. It had to be some Pittsburgh shit, bro. Had to be
Flint, Michigan. Wow,
right? Wow, I had no idea.
Bad order comes from Flint, Michigan. That's for sure.
Wow. Al says Al give him 315. So Al wants 315. John, what do you got for 315 on this? I love how he's got it closer now. Finally.
All right, we got Genuine, The Bachelor.
Wow. Yeah. Pony. All right.
Yeah. I probably was made off that soundtrack.
That is a great, that's a Genuine, man. And I think he's a one album dude too. I think he hit on that album and that was it. Like he's made some cameos here or there, but never really heard for Genuine.
That was the big one, yeah.
Yeah, right.
He came out with the other one that was like what jeans in those jeans.
In those jeans, yes. Yes. It wasn't as good as Pony. Pony took the cake. All right, Jamar, what do you got, buddy?
Well, I guess I'll do my two favorite players. I'll do 8 and 24.
We can only go up to 5.
We got 5. We got 5 sections of the CD.
Okay, so we'll do 5. We'll do Iverson 3, and then you said, can I do 24 still?
Yeah, 1 through 30. Yep.
Okay, so I do 3 and 24.
3 and 24. Man, we got a lot of threes tonight, man. We did all threes. Dave, you going to keep it in line with the threes? Are you thinking
4-1? 4-1.
All right, so 324 and 4. John's digging. This is going to be a good one.
This was 424.
324.
324. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is we got a dud here.
Another Dayton.
I don't even know. Dude, there is so much dust on this case. I don't even know that it's ever been played. NYC Underground Party.
What is that?
I have no idea.
It's like a mixtape.
What?
This looks like almost like some kind of freebie you would get. I never even heard of these people.
Somebody was getting out CDs out the back of their trunk.
That might have been.
That's got to be a Pittsburgh club trip or something.
I turned to you, Melanie C. Wasn't she a Spice Girl?
No, that's Mel B. That's Mel B.
Wow, I have.
Melanie C is not Mel B.
Dude, I've never heard of any of this.
What is that, John? Where you? Oh my God!
Final Chapter is the name of the song by Mike Macaluso.
Oh wow!
Throw that thing out, will you?
Yeah, please put that. Yeah.
Oh, Sandstorm.
Sandstorm
by DeRay. That was that like techno song. If you heard it, they played it like. Actually, I think they might play it at Sixers games.
Really?
I think that's what it is.
Are you a secret? Were you a secret clubber back in the day?
No.
Did you put the fluorescent light sticks in your
Yeah,
mouth?
I think he did.
Like, all like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, you had the sunglasses on and
Yeah.
everything. I'm telling you, man, I could see it. I could see it right now.
No.
All right, Dave. What did you hit him with, Dave?
4-1.
Closing out the show at 4-1. Closing out the show at 4-1. John, you got to hit us with something good.
Oh no,
Another dud?
Yeah, we got another insane clown posse.
An ICP.
Yeah, we had. I think we had 2 of those the first week.
Yeah, we did, man.
Yeah, so
Open it up and see their mask. What kind
all
of
right, we got to
have?
pick another one. We can't end on that, dude.
Can't end on that. Well,
That's 2 duds in a row. That was complete garbage.
that's bad, man. That's bad.
Yeah.
Jamar, give him another. You're the guest tonight on this show, so give him another one, man.
I'll go 1-11.
All right, they all three ones. Come on, man. Come on, John. Give us something here so we can go. I need something to listen to tonight when I'm playing my slots. Let's go.
Not the greatest, but it'll do. Mike Jones.
All right. I'll take Mike Jones.
Yeah.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with Mike Jones.
Yeah, it's all right. I was looking at the one next to it, and I would.
Was it 281-330-8004?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, there you go. There you go. I was never a Mike Jones guy, but that's all right. He's representing better than that New York City undisputed shit you had throwing up there.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I loved Still Tipping so much that I bought the CD thinking that there. Yeah, that was about. I mean, there was like another one or two, but that was the song on the whole album.
Oh, before we get out of here though, while we're on music, prayers out to Dr. Dre, who just suffered a brain aneurysm. He is in ICU as I speak. The good thing that the last report that came out was that he's reportedly lucid and stable, but remains hospitalized as they test to determine the cause of the aneurysm. That's straight from TMZ. So, man, one of the all-time legends right there, man. So, hopefully he's okay because. I'll tell you what, I could rock with a Dre beat any day of the week. But as always, man, this has been great. We're under 2 hours, an hour and 54 minutes. Actually, just in an hour and 55 minutes. Al, just heard that. Our boy Jason checked it earlier. I forgot to read it, so I kind of Googled it while we were doing the show. But as always, everybody, thanks for checking in. This has been fantastic, as always. Again, give us a follow, Heat Ratio Sports. I can tell you right now that we are, as of now, we are 6 days. And during this show, I actually got a message from somebody interested in doing Major League Baseball, which would fill up our 7-day-a-week slot. Now, again, just so you guys know, this doesn't mean that, every night we're going to fill your timelines up for 2 hours with live shows. What it is to guarantee you that we're going to give you some kind of content every day that week. And listen, we're going to try to go live as much as we can. But if we can't, we will be podcasting. We will be on the YouTube Heat Ratio Sports YouTube page. You will be able to interact with us. And again, we keep it all relative. We keep it all as a family. I love it. I want to bring everybody involved. Again, Jamar, thanks for coming on with us last second, hopping in. I appreciate the knowledge. And again, you heard of Sports Knowledge College Flashpoint. We'll be going on Friday nights, 8 p.m. Check out the preview video on the Facebook page. You'll love it. You can tell the man has got some great knowledge, and he will help us out. Coach Dave, as always, thank Gina Marie for me. Tell Gina that I need a damn intern so she can help me out. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to wear 18 hats in this piece right here, so it's not always working. And Pittsburgh, John, as always, for being the voice of reason, I should say. And unfortunately, giving us some shitty music picks tonight. That's okay. We'll get back on the hall next week, man. We'll get back on the hall next week. And our man Mikey Googles will be back next week. Like I said, beginning of the year, my man was busier than all hell, so he couldn't make it. But I'm sure he'll have his fiery takes as the irrational sports fan, as always. So, like I like to say, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.